Wyduck here with Game 2 of the 2013 CPL Championships from Shenyang, China. And spawning here on Derelict Watcher, as your red Protoss, we have InvitusGaming's Jim. And in the bottom left, spawning as the blue Terran, we have Prime's MarineKing. And in case you missed it, in this best of 5 series, MarineKing was able to take game 1. He was able to take game 1 because there was no Nexus cannon available, and he was able to do a marine push with no stim and no combat shoes, was able to destroy the mothership core, damage a lot of stalkers, able to pick off a lot of probes, and from then on he was able to ride the momentum all the way through to the end of the game. So Jim's going to have to play a little bit better if he wants to stay in this series, as no player wants to go down 2-0, especially to a player of MarineKing's ability. But no one should doubt Jim. Jim is a very accomplished Chinese Starcraft 2 player, one of the best in his country. And interesting here, MarineKing has no barracks, so he's going to be going for the 14cc. Is he going to do it on the high ground, low ground? Looks like he's going to be going on the low ground. While Jim is getting an assimilator behind his gateway. And a barracks is coming up for Jim, and he's going to be, or I'm sorry, for MarineKing, and MarineKing is going to be sending out an SCV to scout out his opponent. His opponent has the cybernetics core warping in. Jim is warping out a Zealot, and is going to be putting down a Nexus at his natural. The SCV spots it immediately, comes in just at the perfect time. The Zealot is actually canceled in favor of the minerals for the Nexus. And a lot of Protoss players like to do that. They like to start building the Zealot. They like to check out the expansion. If there is an engineering bay proxy to block the expansion, then they'll let the Zealot warp in. Otherwise, they'll just cancel and put down the Nexus or build a Stalker instead. So very good play by Jim. Mothership core is out and is going to start shooting down the plates again. And this is very interesting because the plates played a role in game 1 as well on Newkirk Precinct, because the mothership core was firing down on the plates, and the first 2 Reapers from MarineKing were able to go into Jim's main base and able to pick off a probe because a mothership core was not on hold position or on stop. So I don't think anything's going to happen this time in regards to that. I don't think he's going to get punished for that, as MarineKing is not building double Reapers. He is building 2 Marines and getting his third, very aggressive third command center. We're going to have to see if this gamble pays off. And as we can see here, Jim's second, it finally comes into play, and he hasn't even scouted anything from MarineKing's base. So he has no idea what MarineKing is going. Could be going for Cloaked Banshee for all he knows. The timing would be in about a minute or so, but he knows nothing about what is going on. Getting a third barracks up and the second refinery, and MarineKing's going to fire down on these plates, while Jim has his robotics facility finally warping in and a forge. What I want to know is this command center going to pay off? We're going to see pretty soon whether or not it's going to. It's probably going to morph, or going to be upgraded to an orbital command immediately. Orbital command. And then MarineKing looks like he's going to be blocking off his ramp into his natural. Never a bad decision. Jim is getting +1 armor and is shooting out observers from the robotics facility as fast as he can, while MarineKing is upgrading stim. So both players are playing a very defensive sort of game. They're not scouting each other very much, and they're not trying to get map control. The observer is over this little whatever sort of blue flame thing in the middle, and this is pretty annoying for players that use a lot of ground units. It's very good for Zerg because overlords can hide at the top and get vision over the center area. The robotics bay is being warped in as well. +1 weapons is just started for MarineKing. MarineKing is detecting something on the right side, so he's moving everything into his main. I don't know if he's suspecting a drop. The third orbital is lifted off. And the observer is going to see everything, sees the 2 tech labs, and that it is researching. He's going to go around to the natural and see what's going on there. There are no turrets or detection. I don't think MarineKing's able to see the little cloak of the observer, and the observer is going to be able to get a full scout. Jim, on the other hand, is warping in 3 more gateways. And is going to land the third. Rather, MarineKing's going to land his 3rd orbital. And Jim's able to see exactly where it is. So Jim knows that MarineKing has spent a lot of resources on that 3rd. So he's going to have to make a decision whether or not he wants to punish that as soon as he can. And he's warping in 2 more gateways and a Colossi with +1 weapons. So he may be going for a 2-base push here. The observer sees all the Marines and Marauders in front of MarineKing's natural. And it looks like Jim's going to be putting down his 3rd Nexus. And getting a Twilight Council behind all of this. MarineKing is getting out a whole bunch of medevacs from his starport. And I like the fact that he's building supply depots in front of the ramp to his 3rd. Some players forget to do that. They kind of just block off their natural, and then they forget to do their 3rd or their 4th. But there's only 2 supply depots up. I don't think this is going to do much for blocking off incoming Zealot raids. And both players are just biding their time. They're upgrading. They're building units. +1 weapons is almost finished for the Protoss, while Blink and Thermal Lance are also coming into play. +2 weapons just started for MarineKing. And with the army supply very similar to each other, the supplies are very close overall. But there is a drop here at the 3rd. Was able to cancel the Nexus. And Jim puts down the Nexus again, but that was good. That was a good pickoff by MarineKing, able to harass the 3rd. And MarineKing's going to be able to spot this proxy pylon as well, which is very unfortunate for Jim. If Jim wants to go for a 2-base timing now, it's not going to be as effective without the surprise element. And MarineKing does have a slight advantage now. A visible advantage with a 15 supply lead, and was able to deter the 3rd from completing. A scan into the natural is not going to reveal too much. It sees 1 Colossi and the probes transferring and moving out. The proxy pylon is able to warp in a few units, but it's finally going to get taken out. The probe is gone. Have to be careful here. MarineKing does not want to engage. There's 2 Colossi here with Thermal Lance, and without Vikings, he's rushing 2 Vikings out right now and another starport. With the reactor going, and now it's completed. MarineKing immediately identifies he needs Vikings. I'm not sure if Jim knows that there's not that many Vikings. In fact, there's none right now. MarineKing's going to rush in. There's a whole bunch of time warps and force field blocking off a 3rd of the army. Whole bunch of kills on the SCVs as they're pulled off the Marine line. And the Marauders are taking a lot of damage. 1 Colossus is going to fall, but it looks like Jim has a distinct advantage here, or maybe not. The Stalkers are being picked off by the Stim Marines. Pick off another pylon. The Colossi are firing down on all the Marines and Marauders and doing a lot of damage. The Vikings are finally in play, able to pick off the 2nd Colossi, but the 3rd Colossi is in the back wreaking havoc. taking a lot of damage, is in the orange. A couple more hits is going to be destroyed. A fourth Colossi is in the battle, but the Stalkers are weak. There's not that many left. They're not able to block the Marine and Marauder force. Jim's going to warp in a few more Stalkers and Zealots, and unfortunately, the game is already over. That was another pretty quick game, as Jim was warping in Colossi, trying to do everything they could, but this huge stimmed Marine and Marauder medevac army was able to pick off all the Colossi one by one. Didn't even really need the Vikings. There's only 2 Vikings engaged in the entire game. And now, MarineKing has a 2-0 series lead in a best-of-5 series. So I don't have to tell you that Jim has to win 3 games in a row if he wants to win the championship here. So it's going to be a hard go for Jim, but he might be able to do it. Let's see what happens in Game 3.